Number 1. Keith Raniere. In 1998, Raniere founded an organization called NXIVM, which is pronounced NXIVM, presenting it as a personal and professional development program. Inside the group, he was known as the Vanguard, a title that put him at the very top of the hierarchy. At first, NXIVM appeared harmless. People joined seeking self-improvement and business advice. But behind the polished exterior, Raniere was building something far darker. He created a secret, all-female subgroup called DOS, Dominus Obsequious Sororium, which stands for Master over Slave Women. Women in DOS were labeled as slaves and forced to recruit others beneath them, while Raniere remained the hidden leader at the very top. To stay in control, Raniere made women give him collateral, things like private photos or secrets that could be used to threaten and silence them. Women were put through strict diets, forced to sleep very little, and constantly manipulated. Some were even burned with a brand of Raniere's initials using a hot pen without any anesthesia. Eventually, the truth about NXIVM began to come out. Former members started sharing their stories. Journalists investigated, uncovering the secret subgroup DOS and the abuse happening inside. Law enforcement stepped in, and the full scale of Raniere's control and crimes became clear. After former members and journalists exposed the secret DOS subgroup and abusive practices, Raniere stayed in hiding for a short time in Mexico, but he was not on the run like some fugitives. In March 2018, Mexican authorities arrested him and sent him back to the United States. He went on trial for serious crimes, like forcing people to work, trafficking, and running a criminal group. In June 2019, the jury found him guilty. By October 2020, he was sentenced to 120 years in prison and had to pay millions of dollars to his victims. After his sentencing, Raniere began serving his 120 years in a high-security prison. His appeals were denied, and he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. The millions of dollars he owes will go to the victims of NXIVM. The case stands as a warning about how people can be controlled and exploited under the cover of self-help. Number 2. David Koresh. David Koresh was born Vernon Wayne Howell on August 17th in Houston, Texas. He had a hard childhood and left high school early, but he became very interested in the Bible. He later joined the Branch Davidians, a small religious group connected to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Over time, he rose in the group and became their leader by the mid-1980s. Koresh called himself the final prophet and said he was a Messiah. He taught that the end of the world was coming, and that his followers had a special role in God's plan, based on the Book of Revelation and the 7 seals. Many people believed him completely and trusted his instructions without question. Koresh also mixed religion with fear. He said obeying him was necessary for salvation, and disobeying could bring punishment from God. He encouraged his followers to stockpile weapons and prepare for a coming battle, saying it was part of God's plan. Because his followers trusted him and feared divine punishment, many were willing to break the law and do things they would normally never do, like hiding guns and helping him build the fortified compound at Mount Carmel. People outside the Branch Davidian compound started noticing strange and concerning behavior. There were reports that Koresh was marrying underage females and abusing young individuals. Others said that the group was secretly stockpiling weapons and preparing for violent conflict. Some former members also came forward, telling authorities about the strict control Koresh had over his followers and the dangerous teachings he promoted. These reports caught the attention of federal agencies, including the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which began investigating the group for illegal weapons possession and other crimes. On February 28, 1993, the Bureau tried to raid the Branch Davidian compound at Mount Carmel. They were investigating illegal weapons and other suspected crimes. The ATF planned a surprise raid in the early morning, hoping to take the group by surprise. But as agents approached the compound, gunfire broke out almost immediately. 4 ATF agents were murdered, and 6 Branch Davidians also died during the shootout. It was unclear at first who fired first, but the firefight quickly escalated, and both sides suffered casualties. After the deadly firefight on February 28, 1993, the FBI took over the situation. They surrounded the Mount Carmel compound and tried to get David Koresh and his followers to surrender peacefully. For 51 days, negotiators spoke with Koresh, hoping to convince him to let people leave safely. Inside the compound, conditions were tense. Followers were trapped, scared, and living under strict control. On April 19, 1993, the standoff ended in tragedy. During an FBI operation involving tear gas, the compound caught fire. Nearly 80 people died, including David Koresh and many young individuals. Number 3. Roch Thériault. Roch Thériault, also known as Moses, was born in Canada in the mid-1940s. He grew up in a troubled environment and developed a strong desire to lead and control others. In 1977, he founded a cult called the Ant Hill Kids, basing their beliefs on a strict interpretation of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thériault claimed to be a prophet with special insight into God's plan, convincing his followers that he alone could guide them to salvation. While the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a mainstream Christian denomination, Thériault twisted its teachings to justify extreme rules, punishments, and his absolute control. He moved his followers to isolated rural areas in Quebec and Ontario, where he predicted the world would end in February 1979, when the prophecy failed. Instead of losing power, he tightened his grip, using fear, beatings, and psychological manipulation to maintain obedience. Thériault's control quickly turned violent. He forced amputations and surgeries with kitchen tools, harmed followers physically and mentally, and fathered 26 children with female cult members. One of his victims, Gabrielle Lavallee, had her arm severed with a meat cleaver, a shocking example of the horrors inside the commune. By the late 1980s, Thériault's control over the Ant Hill Kids had become even more brutal. He demanded total obedience and subjected his followers to extreme punishments, forced rituals, and torture. In 1988, Solange Boillard resisted his orders during one of these cult rituals. In response, Thériault carried out a violent act during a botched ritual, which resulted in her death. In 1989, Gabrielle Lavallee, one of Thériault's victims, escaped the isolated compound and went to the authorities. She told investigators about the beatings, torture, and forced amputations that Thériault inflicted on his followers. She also revealed how he controlled every part of their lives, including their children and daily routines. Most shockingly, she showed her severed arm, proving the brutality inside the cult. Gabrielle's testimony was crucial in bringing Thériault to justice. He was arrested for assault, effectively dissolving the Ant Hill Kids. Provincial authorities had long held suspicions about Thériault's cult due to the particularly primitive living conditions of its membership. But because the commune was officially registered as a church, officials were legally unable to investigate the adults and could not do much except ensure the welfare of the children. Thériault was found guilty of assault for the amputation of Lavallee's arm and received a sentence of 12 years imprisonment, and later he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. On February 26, 2011, at age 63, Thériault was found dead near his cell at Dorchester Penitentiary after being attacked in the neck with a shiv in Dorchester Penitentiary by his cellmate Matthew Gerard MacDonald. Number 4. Paul T. Mackenzie. Mackenzie began leading the Good News International Church in the early 2010 in Kenya. At first, he presented himself as a preacher who wanted people to live a pure Christian life. Over time, his message changed. He started warning that the world was coming to an end and said only those who followed his instructions would be saved. Around 2019, Mackenzie began telling his followers to leave their homes and move into the Shakahola forest in Kenya. He said the forest was a new holy land, a place chosen by God and protected from evil. Mackenzie also told his followers to sell their homes, land, and possessions. Once people arrived, control tightened. He ordered followers to destroy their ID cards, school certificates, and phones. Cut off from family, friends, and the outside world, they became completely dependent on him. Mackenzie convinced them that modern education and medicine were sinful. He told them that fasting would bring them closer to Jesus, but the fasting became extreme. By 2020 and 2021, followers were being forced to starve themselves and their children. Many believed that dying this way would guarantee salvation. Anyone who questioned him was punished. Some were beaten or tied up. Others were murdered and buried in shallow graves across the forest. While his followers suffered, Mackenzie lived comfortably, hidden from most of the group, supported by money taken from people he had convinced to sell their property and give everything to him. By April 2023, news of the deaths and abuse at Shakahola reached Kenyan authorities. They launched an operation and found hundreds of bodies, including 191 young individuals buried in shallow graves. Paul Mackenzie and several of his alleged associates were arrested. The remaining people who were still in Shakahola Forest when authorities intervened were rescued and taken into care, though many were severely malnourished and traumatized. He has pleaded not guilty to murder, and the trial is still ongoing. Number 5. Shoko Asahara. Shoko Asahara was born in Japan on March 2, 1955. From a young age, he struggled with poor eyesight. He had infantile glaucoma from birth, which made him lose all sight in his left eye and go partially blind in his right eye at a young age. He was enrolled in a school for the blind when he was 6 years old since he could not continue the family trade. Being blind, just one eye, he discovered a way to earn money by directing other kids to a candy store. And as he was the only student in the school still capable of having some vision, this led to him becoming somewhat well-liked. However, he was also known to not being nice to other students, taking advantage of the other students by beating and extorting money from them. During his adolescence, he developed a fantasy about ruling a kingdom of robots with total power and confided in his schoolmates about his aspiration to become Prime Minister of Japan. As he grew up, he studied acupuncture and traditional medicine and even opened a small pharmacy, but it eventually closed after he was caught selling fake medicine. In 1984, he started a religious group called Aum Shinrikyo. He claimed to be a spiritual leader and prophet, telling his followers that the end of the world was near. The group grew quickly, attracting tens of thousands of people, including highly educated individuals. Inside the cult, he controlled almost every part of his followers' lives. They had to obey him completely, give up their possessions, follow strict rules, and stay away from anyone outside the group. He ordered murders to protect himself and maintain control over the cult. In 1989, he and his followers murdered a lawyer named Tsutsumi Sakamoto and his family because the lawyer was investigating the group. In 1994, the cult carried out the Matsumoto sarin attack, murdering 8 people to intimidate outsiders and show the cult's power. Then, on March 20th, 1995, they carried out the Tokyo subway sarin attack, murdering 14 people and injuring thousands. After the subway attack, authorities moved quickly. On May 16, 1995, over 2,000 police officers raided Aum Shinrikyo locations across Japan. Asahara was found hiding in a small meditation room near Mount Fuji, wearing purple robes and meditating. He did not resist and was arrested for murder and attempted murder. At his trial, the jury found him guilty of multiple murders and other crimes, confirming that he was directly responsible for the deaths and injuries caused by the cult. In 2004, the court sentenced him to death. On July 6, 2018, he was executed by hanging along with 6 of his top followers. The cult later changed its name to Aleph and Hikari no Wa, but the government still keeps a close watch on them. Number 6. Tony Alamo. Tony Alamo was born in Joplin, Missouri, in 1934, as Bernie Lazar Hoffman. As a young man, he left home for the West Coast, where he tried working in the music business. Later, he changed his name to Tony Alamo and began building the ministry that would attract thousands of followers. In the 1960s, he married Edith Opal Horn, known as Susan Alamo, and together they founded the Alamo Christian Foundation in Los Angeles. The ministry later moved to Arkansas, where it drew people in with free meals and strict, apocalyptic teachings. Over time, the group became known for cult-like control. Alamo demanded total obedience, exploited followers financially, and used physical abuse to maintain power. After Susan Alamo died in 1982, Tony claimed he had divine authority to take multiple wives, including extremely young females. He justified this abuse with distorted interpretations of the Bible, even saying that consent is puberty. In the 1990s, Alamo was convicted of income tax evasion and served 4 years in prison. But his most serious crimes came later. In 2008, federal agents raided his Arkansas compound and, in 2009, he was convicted on 10 counts of transporting young individuals across state lines for intimate exploitation, and the court sentenced him to 175 years in prison. Tony Alamo died in a federal prison hospital in Butner, North Carolina, in May 2017, at the age of 82. In a strange contrast to his life as a cult leader, he was also known in the 1980s for creating heavily decorated denim jackets worn by celebrities. Tony Alamo's story is a chilling example of how a charismatic leader can manipulate and exploit followers, justify horrific abuse using religion, and avoid justice for years before finally being held accountable. Number 7. Marshall Applewhite. Marshall Applewhite, also called Dew, was born in 1931 in Spur, Texas. He was an American religious leader who founded and led the Heaven's Gate New Religious Movement and organized their mass murder in 1997. The murder is recorded as the largest mass murder to occur inside the U.S. He studied music and earned a master's degree. He moved to Houston to serve as chair of the music department at the University of St. Thomas. His students regarded him as an engaging speaker and a stylish dresser. He also became a locally popular singer, serving as the choral director of an Episcopal church and performing with the Houston Grand Opera. In Houston, Applewhite was briefly openly gay but also pursued a relationship with a young woman who left him under pressure from her family. He was greatly upset by this outcome. He resigned from the University of St. Thomas, citing anxiety and other emotional problems. Despite his accomplishments, Applewhite struggled with anxiety and personal problems. In 1972, he met Bonnie Nettles, a nurse with spiritual ideas. Together, they claimed to have a divine mission, believing they were the two witnesses from the Bible. Applewhite and Nettles opened a bookstore known as the Christian Arts Center, which carried books from a variety of spiritual backgrounds. They also launched a venture known as No Place to teach classes on theosophy and mysticism. The pair closed these businesses a short time later and resolved to travel to teach others about their beliefs, and drove throughout the western U.S. While traveling, they had little money and occasionally resorted to selling pints of their body fluid or working odd jobs for much-needed funds. The pair subsisted solely on bread rolls at times, often camped out, and sometimes did not pay their lodging bills. One of their friends from Houston corresponded with them and accepted their teachings. They visited her and she became their first convert. They formed a group that combined Christian beliefs, New Age ideas, and science fiction, teaching that human bodies were just containers for the soul. Applewhite and Nettles gathered followers, who called themselves the Crew. The Crew had to give up family, friends, money, and possessions, live celibately, and follow Applewhite completely. After Nettles died in 1985, Applewhite became even more controlling, guiding his followers with strict rules and spiritual promises. In March 1997, Applewhite convinced his followers that the Hale-Bopp comet was carrying a spaceship that would take their souls to a higher existence. Believing this was their way to reach salvation, he led 38 followers and himself in a mass murder. They took poisoned drinks, put plastic bags over their heads, and died dressed in black uniforms and matching Nike shoes, neatly arranged in a house in Rancho Santa Fe, California, with small amounts of money in their pockets. 39 people died in the Heaven's Gate mass murder, including Marshall Applewhite himself. Number 8. Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh. Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh, also known as Osho, was born in 1931 in India. He began as a philosophy lecturer, teaching meditation, personal spiritual experience, and a mix of Eastern mysticism with Western ideas. His unconventional teachings, which included sexuality as part of spiritual growth, Rajneesh attracted followers called sannyasins and established a large ashram in Pune, India. In 1981, he moved many of his followers to the United States, buying a 64,000-acre ranch in Oregon called Rajneeshpuram. The commune grew into a self-contained city with thousands of residents and its own police force. The followers had to obey Rajneesh completely, give up possessions, follow communal rules, and stay isolated from outsiders. As the commune expanded, tensions arose with local towns, authorities, and critics who were suspicious of the isolated community. Rajneesh and Sheila feared outside interference and wanted to protect their control and maintain obedience among followers. To achieve this, the commune became involved in serious crimes. In 1984, they carried out a bioterror attack in The Dalles, Oregon, poisoning over 750 people by contaminating salad bars. They also committed election fraud and attempted murders to secure political power and silence threats. These actions were a direct extension of their need to control the commune, enforce loyalty, and prevent outsiders from disrupting their authority. Authorities investigated Rajneesh and his commune for crimes like poisoning people, cheating in elections, and threatening others. In 1985, he was arrested for immigration fraud, because that was the charge the court could prove. He agreed to leave the United States, and the commune was closed down. Rajneesh went back to India and continued teaching until he died in 1990 at age 58. Even with all the crimes linked to his group, his teachings are still popular around the world through books, audio, and videos. Number 9. Warren Jeffs. Warren Jeffs is the former leader of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, FLDS, a polygamous sect in the United States. Jeffs grew up in the FLDS community, a group practicing strict religious and polygamous traditions. He gradually rose in influence and became the prophet of the FLDS after the death of his father, Rulon Jeffs, in 2002. As the FLDS prophet, Jeffs used his religious authority to control nearly every aspect of his followers' lives. He reportedly had around 78 to 80 spiritual wives, many of them whom were not unto the age of marriage, forced into marriage with him. These marriages involved coercion and abuse, all justified under his interpretation of religious law. He dictated who could marry, who could have children, and punished anyone who disobeyed. Through fear, manipulation, and isolation from the outside world, he made followers entirely dependent on him. Jeffs's control extended to forcing young females to marry older men. Court documents and testimonies suggest he was involved in at least 67 young marriages, though the true number may be higher. Eventually, former FLDS members and families of girls reported his crimes to authorities. Jeff realized the investigation was closing in. Facing serious charges and potential life in prison, he fled, moving across states and relying on loyal followers to hide him. Because of his flight and the severity of his crimes, the FBI placed Warren Jeffs on the 10 most wanted list. This helped law enforcement coordinate efforts, alert the public, and gather tips that would eventually lead to his capture. In 2006, Jeffs was arrested during a routine traffic stop in Nevada. He was later tried and, in August 2011, convicted of aggravated assault of young individuals. He was sentenced to life in prison on the first count and 20 years on the second, to be served consecutively. Because of these sentences, he will not be eligible for parole until at least 2038, when he would be over 100 years old. Jeffs is currently held in protective custody at the Louis C. Powledge Unit of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Number 10. Charles Manson. Charles Manson was born on November 12, 1934. As a teenager, he spent time in juvenile detention for various crimes. Later, as a young adult, He went in and out of adult prison, developing a reputation as manipulative and persuasive. By the mid-1960s, Manson was in his early 30s. It was at this age that he began gathering a group of followers, mostly young women who were searching for meaning, love, and belonging. He became the center of their world, using his charisma and influence to control nearly every aspect of their lives. During this time, Manson started convincing his followers to prepare for a coming race war, which he called Helter Skelter. He also encouraged them to commit violent acts, which would make them infamous and help bring about the apocalyptic vision he claimed was coming. In July and August 1969, the Manson family carried out a series of brutal murders across California. The most shocking was the murder of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, along with 4 others at her home on August 8th. The next night, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca were murdered in their own home. At the crime scenes, messages like "Death to Pigs" and "Helter Skelter" were written in blood. Although Manson did not personally commit most of the murders, his followers acted on his orders completely, believing it was necessary for the coming race war. The Manson family was first arrested in October 1969 on unrelated charges, including auto theft and arson, at Barker Ranch. Key confessions came from follower Susan Atkins, who described the Tate murders while in jail. Linda Kasabian, who was present but did not participate in the murder, became a crucial witness for the prosecution. By December 1969, Manson and key followers were formally indicted. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 1971, but the sentence was later changed to life imprisonment when California temporarily abolished the death penalty in 1972. Charles Manson remained in prison until his death from colon cancer on November 19, 2017, at age 83. Number 11. Jim Jones. Jones was an American religious leader and political activist, best known as the founder of the People's Temple and as the central figure behind the Jonestown Massacre, one of the deadliest cult tragedies ever recorded. From a young age, Jones showed a strong interest in religion and preaching. At the same time, he developed a deep opposition to racism, a position that set him apart in mid-20th century America. In the 1950s, Jones began his ministry in Indiana. He openly preached racial integration, a stance that was highly controversial at the time and drew resistance from established churches. In 1955, Jones founded his own congregation, which he called the People's Temple. In its early years, the People's Temple was known for social activism. The church operated soup kitchens, helped the homeless, supported the elderly, and promoted racial equality. Jones gained public recognition for this work and later held roles connected to civil rights efforts. Over time, however, Jones's beliefs began to change. He developed an ideology he called apostolic socialism, blending Christian language with socialist ideas. As his influence grew, he demanded increasing loyalty from his followers. Members were encouraged, and in many cases pressured, to give up their income, property, and personal freedom to the church. Loyalty to Jones became absolute. In the mid-1960s, Jones moved the People's Temple to California. There, the organization expanded rapidly and gained political influence, particularly in San Francisco during the 1970s. At the same time, allegations began to surface. Former members accused Jones of abuse, financial exploitation, and staged faith healings. As media scrutiny increased, Jones became increasingly fearful of government intervention. In 1977, Jones relocated hundreds of his followers to a remote agricultural settlement in Guyana, South America. Officially, it was called the People's Temple Agricultural Project, but it became widely known as Jonestown. Jones presented Jonestown as a socialist paradise. In reality, it was an isolated and tightly controlled community where residents faced long work hours, constant surveillance, and punishment for disobedience. On November 18, 1978, United States Congressman Leo Ryan traveled to Jonestown to investigate reports that members were being held against their will. As Ryan and several defectors attempted to leave, They were attacked by People's Temple gunmen at a nearby airstrip. Multiple people, including Ryan, were murdered. Later that same day, Jones ordered what he called a revolutionary murder. More than 900 people, including over 300 children, were forced into drinking some chemical-flavored drink. Jim Jones was found dead at the Jonestown compound, having suffered a gunshot wound to the head. His death was officially ruled self-hurt. Number 12. Gwen Shamblin. Gwen Shamblin Lara was an American author, dietitian, and religious leader. She first gained attention in 1986 with The Way Down Workshop, a program that combined weight loss with Christian principles. Her approach attracted many followers, and over time, she founded the Remnant Fellowship Church, claiming absolute spiritual authority over her members. Shamblin's church has been described as cult-like because she required strict obedience from her followers. They had to follow her rules on diet, behavior, family life, and finances, and questioning her teachings was seen as rebellion against God. Former members reported psychological manipulation, including shaming, controlling personal decisions, and fostering total dependence on her guidance. Her influence grew because she presented herself as a guide for both body and soul, convincing followers that their spiritual and personal well-being depended on obeying her completely. On May 29, 2021, Gwen Shamblin Lara died in a plane crash along with 6 others. The small 7-passenger jet crashed into Percy Priest Lake shortly after taking off from Smyrna, Tennessee, while heading to Palm Beach, Florida. Those who died included her husband, Joe Lara, her son-in-law, Brandon Hanna, and 4 other church leaders: Jennifer Hanna, David Martin, Jonathan Walters, and Patrick Walters. The crash was caused by engine trouble, and all aboard died. Despite her death, Shamblin's influence continues through the Remnant Fellowship Church, showing how charismatic leaders can maintain control and impact followers even after they are gone. Thank you for watching. Check out these other interesting clips from the channel, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.